Bret is a personal trainer, business owner, and running enthusiast. He posts valuable content for runners and has achieved over 36,000 followers. Bret gave me some advice on how to handle my upcoming 100-mile race. We also talked about how to grow on social media, which is what this show is all about. Why did you decide to start running?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'll call myself a wannabe athlete my whole life. I always loved sport, but was never extraordinarily talented or gifted. So I'm kind of like always the guy that was left off the team by one or two players. And so it's funny, I ran track in high school, and I put that in air quotes because it was the only thing that you couldn't get cut from. So I did that and was never really good at it, to be honest. And then after school ended, went to college and always was into lifting, but just found a challenge. Actually, my first boss out of college was like, "Oh, I'm running this 10K. You should come do it." And so I started running, a couple miles a day, just kind of like hacking it together. And then she was a pretty good runner, and I beat her in the race. And I was like, "Oh, I could actually kind of do this thing." So again, was like on and off with it. And then in 2019, I had done a lot of training of runners. So I'm a personal trainer and coach. I was doing a lot of strength training for runners. And at the time, I was part of the Nike training team. And so they brought me on the Nike running team to be a part of their coaching staff for strength training. And so I was like, well, now I got to run so I can show these people I know what I'm doing. So I signed up for the marathon. And that was honestly like the first big race I ever did. So, I'm still like I wouldn't call myself like a running veteran, but I was able to break 3 hours in that, which is a really good baseline for a marathon, especially for your first one. And so that kind of kickstarted it. And then it's kind of funny, COVID hit and I was kind of burnt out from running. So I went on a 2-year journey to try to dunk a basketball. I'm 5'10", not very athletic. I was able to do it, which is awesome, but I completely stopped running. And then High Rocks, which is kind of my sport now, kind of came onto the scene. And I saw an event of that, and I was like, all right, I got to get back into this. And so probably since end of 2021, I've been really getting back into it, and I've run countless races and stuff since then. And so that's kind of kept me going. And then I think one thing, kind of last piece of that, is that I've noticed with the clients that I coach, when they have a race that they're signed up for, their ability to stay on plan is so much higher because there's that thing you're shooting for. And I started to notice that for myself. I was like, all right, I got 4 races this year. This is the plan before this one. Then this is the plan before this one. It was like, there is no choice to be like, today I'll just do back and biceps because, I want to lift weights. So it's really kept me dedicated, and it's helped me find a good rhythm in everything. And it's been fun because it's just a constant challenge. Like, you can always get better, and there's always things you learn, and it's just something that really fuels me.
Hey, if you want me, a man that has helped build a 1.6 million follower brand, helping you to grow and monetize your following, go ahead and go check out my mentorship, link in the description. So when you're running, are you a runner that's like, yeah, I enjoy this. Yeah, I enjoy this. Or are you like, this sucks, I just want this to be over with? Because like I know personally, every time I run, I'm like, this is awful. I do not want to run. So.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And I'm empathetic towards that. I'm one of the people that loves it. I think one of the things is about 6 or 7 years ago, I shattered my collarbone into 3 pieces. And I wasn't a huge runner at that point. And it's not what led me to running, but what it really did was led me to gratitude for my body and the ability to move. And so honestly, like gratitude is my favorite word. So anytime I get to go out and move and run and lift anything, play basketball, whatever it may be, I'm just so grateful to be able to move my body. And I know I'm a little bit of an outlier there. Like I do enjoy running. It's a solitude for me. It's a moving meditation for me. And so I get a lot of people that I coach that, you got to fuel the flame a little bit just to get them going. Yeah. But one of the things that I do say, and I got this from my long-term mentor, Coach Bennett, who's one of the Nike coaches, what he said was, if you finish a run and you don't want to run again, that run was the wrong run for you to do. So what he means by that is like, say you, Hayden, love sprints. You're like, dude, I could go out, run some 40-yard dashes I feel good, I feel fast, but I hate running a 3 mile run. Like that's my death. Then you shouldn't run a 3 mile run. Like let's do stuff you like doing and running. And one of the things is I think a lot of people put the pedestal as like a marathon, when in reality, like that's a great feat. Like maybe that's a bucket list item for some people, but that's not the pinnacle. Like you could be a 100-meter dasher. Like Usain Bolt is still a badass runner, and he doesn't run marathons. Right. So one thing I tell people is like, if you like sprints, if you like hill repeats, if you like anything, let's do that. Let's do more of that. And then the last piece of that is one of the coolest things, and I've seen this pick up honestly in the last year and a half, is these run clubs just popping up everywhere. The social side of running can be really cool. Like, hey, let's go out and hit a run club and go grab brunch after, and we're going to do a 3 mile social run. Like it's over before you even know it started. So those are some of the kind of things I think about with running, is like, how do you make it enjoyable? And then the other thing I tell people, I have clients that don't run. If you hate running, get on a bike, get on a rower, get on a skier. Like if you want to do cardio another way, you shouldn't do stuff you don't like to do, unless you're one of those people that like does that because it gets you out of like a dark place. That's okay too. If you're doing the Goggins approach, I get it. But if you do, like, you know, you're like, yeah, I'm a pretty decent runner. Like I'm an athlete, but I hate the runs I'm doing. Let's switch the runs to things you like. That might translate to do other stuff later. But hey, man, let's get you sprinting. Let's see how fast you can run. And to me, that's a fun thing to make it more of a skill, and more like an athletic feat than like, oh, we got a 20-mile run today. And everyone's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah. See, I take the Goggins approach of it. I'm like, I hate running, so I'm going to run for the longest distance I possibly can today with the time I have. And so that's my approach. I was about to ask you, do you do ultras at all, or is a marathon your longest distance?
Longest I've ever done is a marathon. It's one of those things that's like starting to kind of tick to me a little bit. Is maybe the opportunity to go run a little longer distance or something like that. We'll see. I kind of like the shorter, faster stuff. Like the half marathon is my favorite running distance. And then High Rocks as an event is like my favorite event to run, which is for people that don't know, that's a combination of running and strength training. So you do 8 1,000-meter repeats. In between each one of those, you do some sort of strength or skill event. Hayden's eyes just rolled. It's a fun one. It's a total burner. What I love about it is there's so many different elements. And I think it's why it's blown up over the last few years, is it's accessible for everybody, even though it sounds kind of crazy, but also it's something that you don't just have to run, which for people that don't like running, you can do other things to get in shape. You can do EMOMs, you can take CrossFit, you can take a HIIT class, and it's going to help you with that. So it's a fun event to kind of work through that physical and mental side.
So I have a personal question for you. I took on the feat of trying to do a 100-miler in August, and I am not a runner at all. I just decided, I went to MMA one day and I got gassed really quick, and I'm like, nope, because I do have a dedication towards MMA. So I'm like, okay, I need to be in better cardiovascular shape. So I just started running, and I've got it back into it in the last couple months. And so I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to do something that no one else really does, unless they're runners. I'm just going to do a 100-miler. I'm going to sign up for one right now, just starting, and just do it. So that's in a month. And so
just say we're a month out.
Yeah. And I'm not running a ton right now. I do have very good cardiovascular because I was running very consistently.
Yep.
But I'm trying to bulk now as personal, and the 100-miler, I'm just going to basically mental game through it. So give me your tips on mental advice to myself.
Let's go through a couple physical things first. The number one most important thing you can do is run slow. People think they can like, oh, I'm going to bang out a couple 7-minute miles and then walk. That your body won't respond to that. Your lactic acid will build up and you will literally bonk and not be able to go. So your pace should be a crawl, like 12-minute miles, 13-minute miles. Take breaks. The other side of it, and the other physical side of it, is the fueling strategy is huge. You should practice from now until then, like 1 or 2 days where you eat 700-800 grams of carbs. in a day. Because you're going to be needing that amount of fuel. You should have a day where you have like 15 to 20 of those gels, like Honey Stingers or any of those brands, to see how your stomach responds. One of the things I see when people do ultras, whether it's 50 mile, 70 mile, 100 mile, whatever it may be, and I've worked with people through that or paced them on that, is that they never practice the fueling. And you need to be consuming the correct amount of carbohydrates. And I can kind of offline tell you what that would be for your body weight and all that. We can run through all that.
Okay.
And if you don't practice doing that, like your stomach will literally explode. You'll just be like, I got to get on the toilet every 5 minutes. I see it all the time in these events where people, and even people that have practiced it, it's an insane amount of carbohydrates for just a normal person to be eating in a day, but that's all your body's going to burn. So you got to carb load up before that for like 2 or 3 days where you're at, what do you weigh? Like 175, 180?
I'm 165 right now.
165. Okay. So you're going to want to have 600 grams of carbs 3 days before, which is a lot. I'll do that like for my races the day before, but for you, you're going to want to get your glycogen stores like maxed out. And then during that race, you're going to want to be having like, one of those Honey Stingers is like 20 grams of carbs. You're going to want to be having one of those every 30 minutes at least. And then you're going to take breaks every hour, 2 hours to have like a bagel or something. It's like you just can't run out. If you run out, you're just cashed. And that's a learning. So it's not only like physically can you do it, but that the other side of it is, I think people kind of take two sides to the mental game. It sounds like you're a Goggins guy, and like so you're gonna get into the dark there. Like there's no doubt about it. I don't care if you're the most optimistic, happiest person in the world.
Right.
One, you're gonna get in the dark because it's gonna get dark outside. I'm sure this is gonna take you a long time. So it's that, and then it's, are you gonna do it with people?
My friend was saying that he was going to do it, but I'm not sure if he's going to do it or not, honestly.
Okay.
So
I'm trying to find as many people as you can that will run 1, 2, 5, 6, 7 miles of it with you. Having a community around you, like a lot of these ultras, people are going to be like, oh, I got a guy running 10 with me, and then I'm going to run a couple on my own, or like it's a lap around a huge thing or something. Finding some people that are willing to throw some miles down with you. One of the biggest things in races, it's a kind of a cool phenomenon, is not in an ultra, but let's say a marathon or a half marathon. When you're running and you see somebody on the course that's on the sideline that that cheers for you, there's like a hormonal response that literally, then it's not a long time, but like 15 to 45 seconds, your body like physically takes a break from the beating. So it's kind of cool. Like if you have people positioned on a course, and you get that like little high a few times, I mean, it can shave minutes off of your time in a race because your body releases endorphins and you just don't feel your body for a little bit, and you'll speed up, but it won't like increase your heart rate. It's a cool thing. So, having somebody next to you it will be huge too.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm just, it's going to be rough, but just get it done.
Do you have a time? Is it like a race, or are you just doing it like?
It's an event. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the cutoff is 30 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
That'd be enough time.
Yeah. It'll be good. That's a good cutoff time.
Yeah. Well, so what made you decide to start posting, content then?
Yeah. So I've been on Instagram since 2015 maybe. And it's funny because like the first thing I started was Twitter. So a little background, I graduated college studying economics, started working at Kohl's corporate. It's a department store. I was doing data analytics, how many shirts people buy and stuff. It was a random job. And I was really good at it. And about 2 months into it was like, I cannot do the corporate thing. I was the fastest promoted person in the history. I, showed up first, stayed late. That's just kind of my thing. And then every other minute outside of that, I was working out. So I was working out at a Gold's gym there and went up to the head trainer and said, hey man, like, what does it take to become a personal trainer? I kind of want to do it as a side thing. He was like, oh, great. We just had a couple people quit. Go get your certification online. Here's a way to do it in 3 months. And then I see you working out here all the time. We'll just get you on the calendar. So I started doing it on the side, you know, making like $14 an hour or something. And this was before the term side hustle was a thing. This was before Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week. You know, this was like, I was just doing it to do it. And Twitter had just came out. So I started a Twitter account one day called Bodies by Bret. I was just posting stuff like drink more water, go to the gym today, and started getting a couple followers out there, maybe like 200-300, I don't know. And then started an Instagram account and started doing the same thing. And had no idea, like content wasn't even a word then. Posting wasn't a word then. Like these are all not new, but like it become things. So I was just doing it because I had a mission and a purpose, and was like, I'm just going to show my journey here. And, you know, didn't even have an idea of like starting a business or a company yet, but like those things started to formulate. And then once I started to do more legit work, as a coach and a trainer, I just started to post more things on there, and, you know, had a couple periods where like I opened my phone and I was like, oh my gosh, I got 3,000 followers yesterday. Like, what is that? And that happened a couple times, and it's been an interesting game. Honestly, in the last like 2 or 3 months, I probably gained like 10, 15,000 followers, but I was at like 20,000 followers for like 5 years. It was like, it ramped up, and then it was like, I mean, Instagram, it's all a game. Like you don't know nobody knows what they're doing. The only people that know what they're doing pay an agency, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to like figure that out. I'm a one-man show. I've always been in it just to provide value. And, you know, I take some time to like think about a strategy and stuff, but I have a business mind, but I'm not like, you know, spending 1 million hours on it. I just do it to create value and connect with people. And I, you know, do as much as I can to do that. And, try to give people that follow me actual actionable tips on how to be a better runner, how to be a better athlete, sneak peeks into my own lifestyle and what I'm doing. Because again, I'm not like a blessed athlete. I just work really hard and have learned a lot about how the body works and how to work different energy systems to be your best. So that's kind of why I do it and why I still continue to go at it. It's, you know, it's a fun thing, and I definitely made money from it in one, you know, getting brands to sponsor stuff and getting clients through it for sure. But that's always been like a secondary factor for me. You know, as my account grows and as stuff happens, sure, like it's an awesome way to make money. I've got friends of mine that are full-time, you know, content creators, influencers, whatever you want to call it. But it's still a job, it's still a career. You still got to work really hard at that to do that. So I personal train 20 to 30 hours a week. I run a retreat business. I run a men's workout mental health group in Chicago. So I have a lot of other things going on. And the content kind of just fills in there.
Yeah. So how often are you posting? Do you have like a calendar, content calendar, or you just when you feel like it?
I post pretty much every day. I think that that's a consistent thing for me. You know, every once in a while I'll miss a day, but you know, it's been interesting, honestly, like I said, in the last month or so, maybe 6 weeks, like I had a couple of posts go really viral, like 5-6 million views, and cranked up some followers from that. And it's interesting. It's like before that, you know, I was kind of in a dip where posts would get like 1,000, 2,000, maybe every once in a while you'd hit 10K. And it was crazy. Like the algorithm, all this stuff is constantly changing, right? And one of the things that I really realized is like remove my ego. And, you know, if I had 2 billboards on a street with a QR code on either one, and I was selling widgets and everybody scanned one and nobody scanned the other one. But even if I loved the other one better, I thought it was a great visual. Like if you're selling something, you would do the other one. And so a lot of people, when our time is our currency, we're a little bit more like, I'll just kind of do what I want. But like if you were spending money on it, you would do the one that made you more money, you know, for most people that want to stay in business.
Yeah.
So I was posting some stuff and I posted a couple of reels and it was like, oh, that one got 30,000 views. That one got 50,000. That one got 100,000. That one got 10,000. I was like, oh, these are working. And then I like would open my phone in the morning. It was like, you got 50 followers, you got 100 followers. And then these followers would be DMing me questions, and then followers would want to book calls for coaching. And then I got a couple of clients. I'm like, oh, this is real. And it was interesting because a lot of that content was like just way different than what I had been posting. And I felt like, man, is this really giving people value? But then I'd look at it, it was like, this post has 10,000 shares. I was like, people, this is working. Like it's getting to a bigger audience. So I think one of the things for people that are doing it is like stay super consistent. But with that consistency, don't just follow one pattern, like try out different things, look at the way that this is always moving. And Gary Vee's the best analysis. He always says, go to where the attention is. What are people seeing? And create the content that you want to give, like the value you want to place, but you might have to switch the delivery mechanism of it. And if you have money, pay people to do that for you, hoping to get there one day. But, you know, as somebody that's doing it just for the value to give to other people, I'm like, I just want this stuff to reach people. And like, I've had so many people be like, oh, I've been trying these workouts and these stretches and stuff that you've been posting. In the last month, like my knee pain's gone away. I just ran my first, like one of my, a friend, I would call her now, that I met through Instagram. She was like, I just went on my first 3.5 mile run in 6 months, pain-free. And it literally was, I just did 3 stretches I saw on your Instagram account. I'm like,
That's awesome.
that is awesome. That's what I care about. I go in depth a lot with my clients. Like I don't have a lot of clients, but I train them often and I do way more than just like coach them for 1 hour. And I want to kind of treat this the same way. So in the background, I'm creating a lot more like guides and tutorials and stuff that I'm going to start to share and give away based on my, 11, 12 years of experience actually training and coaching. So that's kind of always been my plan. And, as this target is always shifting of what's working, one of my strategies that I interviewed a guy on our podcast years ago, and his Instagram handles Juji Mufu. He's an awesome guy. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's like a freak bodybuilder, but he can do the splits and do all these acrobatic things. He hit this viral circuit. Like this was probably 5 or 6 years ago when we interviewed him. And I'm sitting down with him. He's like, here's my strategy. I'll tell you what it is. He's like, I post 6 posts, whichever post does the best. I post 6 more like, he's like, and I do another 6, whatever. He's like, it sounds so basic, but people just throw stuff and they just do things. So I started to do that now. I'm like, all right, I looked back at my last month, which did the best. Okay, let's create more like that. And then you just kind of continue to shift through that. But it definitely takes time and energy. And like, you got to look at it as like a business. And so that's the way I'm taking it going forward. With the goal again of just reaching as many people as I can to provide value so they can be better runners and athletes, because my whole goal is take care of your physical body. That will help your mental body and that'll help you have the best day ever. Yeah,
no, very true. Very true. So you're having a lot of positive interactions. Do you get some negative comments in there too? Because I know like, anytime you give like advice on something, there's somebody that's like, that's not going to work. Nope. And they just, they got to voice it.
Oh yeah. The haters are the ones that are gonna go at you the most, especially when you post something that's like slightly controversial. And one of the things is that you're gonna see a lot of people do that on purpose. Post controversial stuff like only eat, I don't know, make it up, only eat mangoes. And people are gonna do that, and then it's like, it's gonna go viral, and then they're gonna keep saying it because they're gonna get these, whatever. And, you're going to always get that. And I've gotten it more again in the last few months because these posts have I'll open my phone and I'll have comments on a post I posted, 8 weeks ago. Yeah. Because it just kind of goes through this circuit. And yeah, people are always going to throw hate and shade on it. One thing is that there are so many approaches that like, there are different ways you can get to the same goal. And when I see a client come into me, I don't put them on a plan. I assess them. What are you doing? What do you like doing? Like I said, with you running, I'm not going to be like, all right, Hayden, like you got to run 50 miles this week. And you're like, I don't like doing that. I'm not going to make you do that. I look at the entire body of work. What are you going to do? And what are you likely to do the most? That's what a good coach should help you with. Then you should look at your imbalances and say, all right, well, I notice your hips are a little off. Like if we keep squatting, you might be able to progressively overload, but then we're going to hit this point where you blow your back out. And so with social media, you can give quote unquote like blanket advice, but it's always going to be individualized. And so what I try to do is like give out advice that's going to cover a lot of bases. But I know like, all right, maybe the couch stretch, if everybody does the couch stretch more often, we're going to have way less hip pain in the US. It's true. But is that the best stretch for everyone to do? Some people don't respond well to stretching. They respond better to soft tissue work, but it is like the best stretch, I think, for hip work to do. So when I say that, people are going to say like, oh no, you got to do this. This like, all right, there's some truth to that here. But like, if everybody just did that stretch, we would be in a way better place. So you're always going to get, you're going to get people that throw hate on it. It doesn't bother me at all. If anything, what I see about that is like, all right, you commented on my post. That's going to bump it up even more.
Exactly.
I can create a conversation with you. Anybody that throws hate, I will throw a conversation in there and say, hey, like, these are the certifications that I've done. This is where I got that exact research from. If you want to, talk about that, like, let's have a phone call and let's talk through that. If you know that it's wrong, like, I'm always going to be like, I want to give out the best advice. So like, we've all learned what we've learned. And so if there's something that it like needs to change or be different, like, let's talk through that. I'd love to learn. I'm always taking new certifications and learning. So, that's going to happen, but it's more funny than anything that people are going to sit around the internet and just hate on you. And then like, what are you actually doing? So that's part of it for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, do you have any questions for me?
I would say, yeah, I mean, what's kind of the goal of doing this for you?
Well, so I currently run a social media page with my family, mostly my dad, that we're on all the social medias, and we have about 1.6 million followers right now. And so I wanted to break away from the comedy stuff a little bit, still doing it obviously, but breaking away and also doing more talking to people, getting more interesting stories, because we just tell skits and we're dad jokes and stuff. And that's great. That's cool. I enjoy the hell out of it.
It's hilarious though. I started following it. It's good.
Thank you. But I wanted to talk to people and like get their insights, because I'm a person that I like to be very knowledgeable. I like knowing tons of things, and I like just being able to do a ton of things. So talking to someone that's a runner, you've told me things that I have more knowledge now. And then I talk to somebody else that is in fitness, and I learn things from them. And then I talk to somebody that's into cars, and I learn, just learning things like that. But then also basing the interviews around learning how to grow on social media. That way I can build an audience of people that are watching these to learn how to grow on social media. And so that's the goal of it, is just helping. Yeah, and then it's personal growth for me as well. So,
I mean, that's a double-edged sword right there. That's great.
Exactly.
I think, one of the things is that there's a lot of people out there that are trying to give tips and stuff on how to grow, which is great. And I think there's a lot of value in that. One of the things that's nice about this is when you get to hear like actual stories, and it's not just like buzzwords and like, people just throwing up stuff on social media because they know it's going to get views. I think at the end of the day, social media is a tool for sure. It's brought me a lot of value and met a lot of cool people and stuff like this. The one thing I always tell people is like 15 years ago, people made millions of dollars a year and there was no social media. One of the things that's tough about it is people get caught up in it and spend an astronomical amount of time. And it might not be your avenue to get clients or make money. Like, that's okay. You don't have to have it. I train personal clients that are making millions of dollars a year that don't have social media. So it's like people think it's a way to create like freedom in your time, and it can do that for sure. But the people we see are the top 1%. So I always tell people like, use it as a tool. And like, I'm sure you've seen it on your account with your dad, is like some stuff works, some stuff doesn't. Never get in a rut about stuff that doesn't work. Like it's out of your control. Just keep going. And if you're not doing it for your purpose, you will fade. It will fade out. If you're doing it just for money, just for vanity, I see that all the time in the fitness space. People throw up a shirtless pic or whatever, and it goes, and it's like, that's a rabbit hole that's going to get tough to get out of. Stay on your purpose with it, and then it will aid you to grow whatever it is you're trying to grow, and then do it to create value. And if we do those things, like, it will work out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. For sure. You got to have an enjoyment and attachment to it, or you're going to be like, yeah, well, it's just money, Yeah. And yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that big time. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, that's it.
Awesome, man. Well, I really enjoyed talking to you, and I appreciate the knowledge you gave me on running.
Yeah, of course.
So I'll definitely utilize that. big time. It's going to be a nerve-wracking run, but
Get through it, take your time, eat a shitload of bagels and carbs and bread, and you'll be good.
all right. All right. I will do that for sure. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
You take care of yourself.
Yep. Have a good one, Hayden. Have a great day.